All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a truly monumental tech project, what it really takes to move an entire company to the cloud. We're going to walk through the architect's blueprint for this complex, but let's be honest, absolutely essential journey.
Think about it for a second. How do you do that? It's a question that keeps a lot of tech leaders up at night. This isn't just about moving some files around. It's more like redesigning an entire digital city while all of its citizens are still living and working in it. The scale is just massive, and the stakes, they couldn't be higher.
So to make this whole thing real, we're going to follow the story of a fictional company, but one that's super realistic. We'll just call them Innovate Corp. Their journey from this old, kind of clunky infrastructure to a nimble, cloud-powered future is going to be our guide.
Every great journey starts with a problem, a real challenge. So what was it that finally pushed Innovate Corp to make such a big move? Let's dig in.
So this was the reality for Innovate Corp. They had this huge collection of different applications, all running on their own aging servers in their own data centers. And you know what that means? A marketing campaign goes viral? Bam, the systems can't handle the traffic. Want to release a simple new feature? It takes months. And the cost of just keeping the lights on for all that hardware, it was a constant drain on their budget. Basically, their technology had become a roadblock, not the rocket ship they needed it to be.
So they decided to move, but you can't just start, randomly packing up applications and shipping them off. Nope. Like any good architect planning a skyscraper, you need a detailed blueprint. And let me tell you, this planning phase is absolutely critical to success. Innovate Corp's blueprint kicked off with two essential steps. First up, application discovery. You can think of this like creating a super detailed map of their entire digital world. Every single app, every connection, every little dependency. And the second step, setting up what's called a landing zone.
So what on earth is a landing zone? Well, think of it this way. Before you build a house, you have to prepare the land, right? You lay the foundation, you set up all the utilities like water and electricity. A landing zone does exactly that, but for the cloud. It's this pre-configured, secure environment where your applications can safely land and just start running. It is the foundation for everything that comes next.
All right, so the foundation is laid, the blueprint is ready. It was time for the first wave of the actual migration. And the goal here was simple: create some momentum. Prove to everyone that this massive project was not only possible, but that it was already bringing benefits. Their strategy for this first wave was something called rehosting, which you'll often hear called lift and shift. They basically picked up their existing applications and moved them, pretty much as is, to run on virtual servers in the cloud, in this case on Google Compute Engine. It's kind of like just renting a really powerful computer in one of Google's data centers.
Now this slide shows a really critical trade-off they had to make. On one hand, rehosting is fast. It doesn't take a ton of effort up front, and it's great for building that momentum we talked about. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. It doesn't really optimize your apps for the cloud. You're still running your old software just on newer, better hardware. That means all your old technical problems, they come right along with you, and your long-term costs can actually be higher. So it's a fantastic first step, but it is definitely not the final destination. And that, of course, brings us to the second wave. Now that they had a foothold in the cloud, Innovate Corp could start the real work of transformation, making their applications truly cloud-native.
This is where the magic really starts to happen. See, it's not enough to just move your old stuff to a new place. The real goal is to rebuild and re-architect your applications to harness the full power of the cloud. We're talking about things like automatic scaling, amazing managed services, and just incredible efficiency.
So Innovate Corp used a mix of strategies, and this is so key. They chose the right tool for the right job. For some apps, they re-platformed. This means making some small tweaks so they could use cool cloud services like managed databases. For others, they moved them over to modern platforms like Cloud Run, which lets you run code without even thinking about servers. Or Google Kubernetes Engine, GKE, which is perfect for managing really complex apps at scale. And then for their most critical, high-traffic applications, they refactored, which means they completely rewrote them from the ground up to be perfectly optimized for the cloud.
And this table just lays it out so clearly. Rehost is the fastest and cheapest to get started, but you get low cloud benefits. Refactor is the slowest and most expensive, but wow, it delivers the highest possible benefit. The genius of Innovate Corp's plan was using the right strategy for the right application, which created this really balanced, powerful portfolio.
But hang on, there's a super important piece of this puzzle that you won't find on any technical diagram. As the lead architect put it, this was just as much about people as it was about technology. Whole teams had to be restructured, engineers had to learn brand new skills, the entire organization had to evolve. And that's a lesson that applies to any company, anywhere, taking this journey.
So, after following Innovate Corp through this whole massive construction project, what are the key architectural principles we can take away? What's the blueprint for our own projects?
All right, here are the big 4 lessons. First, don't try to boil the ocean. A phased approach is absolutely critical. Second, never ever skip the blueprint. That initial discovery and landing zone setup is non-negotiable. Third, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Use a mix of those migration strategies. And finally, remember the people. You've got to plan for training and organizational change right from day one.
So after all that planning, all that building, all that work, was it worth it? Well, this number, it kind of says it all. 75%.
That's what it means, a 75% reduction in the time it took them to get new ideas and new features out to their customers. They went from being slow and stuck in the mud with their old infrastructure to being fast, agile, and innovative. This, right here, is the ultimate payoff of a well-executed cloud migration.
Innovate Corp's story just goes to show what's possible when you have a clear plan. It proves that with the right blueprint, you can transform not just your technology, but your entire business. So the final question really is, what will you build?